Welcome to the Honeymoon Mindset podcast. Even with kids, you can have a honeymoon mindset. We are your hosts,
Kimberly Mullen
and James Deppa. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Honeymoon Mindset. I am your host, James. Kimberly got surprised with a week away with the family. So they're having fun. We wish them well and safe returns on their mini trip, whatever they're up to. I want to phrase or warn this episode. Some of it might be a little hard to listen to. As I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's hard for me a little bit of times to think about what we're going to be talking about. We just did an episode, 2 episodes on how to get kids ready for the holidays. How to get them ready about giving, and it's not all about the presents, it's about helping others and being there for others. But there's a flip side of that doesn't really get talked about that much. And here at Honeymoon Mindset, we don't shy away from some of these topics. They're very hard to talk about. There's no real right or wrong way to do it. It's just hard. But what happens when your kids struggle for the holidays and struggle during and through the holidays? How do you handle that as a parent? How do you talk to your kids so it's not a struggle for them, so they can actually enjoy it? What not to do is tell them it's okay. It's not a big deal. They're just making it up. Yeah, we'll talk about it later. Never get to them. Oh, don't worry about it. It's the holidays. So just be happy, enjoy. Just put a happy face on and you'll be good. That does more harm and damage to your child more than anything. It tells the kid that they don't matter. They're not important. Their thoughts and feelings don't matter. They're worthless. So that's what you don't want to do. If you see your kid alone, quiet, shy, reluctant to help out, decorate, get things ready, or go to a relative's house, or seem a little sad even though it's a joyous time of year, there's a reason why. Some of the more common ones are a death in the family this past year, a move, change in family dynamics, divorce, breakup. Maybe a sibling had a breakup with a girlfriend that they were close to. Yeah, maybe mom and dad separated, or mom and dad moved cross country, or got a new job, so things are really different this year. Like I said, a loss in the family, a death of a loved one, a grandma and grandpa, or a parent for that matter. And it couldn't just be in this year. It could be 2-3 years ago. They're still hurting this time of year because that loved one, whether it be a grandma, grandpa, or aunt and uncle who really loved the holidays and made it special for the kids, and they remember that could be something they struggle with. The other thing could be a loss of a pet. Kids get attached to their animals. And if they lose one that's been around for a while since they were born, they get really attached to them. And they miss them. If you also see your child scared, really fighting to go somewhere, or really fighting the holidays, like I said, this is the part where it gets really hard. They may have been abused by somebody in the family, and that's why they're acting up. And if that's the case, you need to seek some professional help for your child, because they've been hurt deeply, emotionally scarred. And you also need to get law enforcement involved. And that's not something we will touch on this show, except for you need to get your child professional help and law enforcement involved. But when you do see your child struggling during the holidays, first and foremost, give them space. Give them time. Because they're hurting. They need to know that it's okay to hurt during the holidays. It's okay to feel sad. And sometimes some kids are almost depressed during this time of year, depending on what's going through their head. Once you give them a little bit of time and space, talk to them. Sit down with them. First thing you do when you sit down with them is reassuring that you want them to be honest with you. You're there to listen. You want to help them. You're the parent that wants to listen with your heart. You're going to listen with your heart. You're going to be there to help them. You're not going to be there to give them answers or solutions. Tell them that it's okay. You can tell them that this is a safe space. They can tell you anything and everything. There's no judgment. There's no putting down, making fun of. Everything's going to be taken seriously. Everything, because it matters. You, my child, are hurting. And when you hurt, I hurt as your parent. And I want you to have a fun time this year at Christmas. Give them space. Sit down with them, talk to them, secondly. And thirdly, help them with what they're thinking and feeling. We as parents and adults, sometimes we assume and jump to conclusions. You can't do that here. You need to stop and listen. If they're struggling to figure out what they're thinking and feeling, give them or statements or questions, open-ended or questions. What I mean by that? What I mean is, are you feeling more sad or more hurt? That's a very general, open-ended question. And when they're talking about it, they'll have to be able to feel more which way they're going. Then when they pick a side, why are you feeling this way? Or what is making you feel this way? Go through the W's and H. When, why, how, where, what, who. And again, if it comes down to a who, because they've been abused, touched inappropriately, or said bad things to them, and they're scared, you need to protect your child and do whatever you can. And that's why I said you need to get law enforcement involved. If it's somebody if they lost somebody, or an animal, or a big move or something, talk to them about them. What do they miss? What do they remember about that person or that place? Why does it mean so much to them? Why is it important? Ask them how they're feeling about the new place or the new life without that loved one. And if it is somebody that they love or a new place, either or, how can we bring this to life here? How can we help experience this here? Or how can we remember grandma or grandpa or aunt, uncle or whatever? Or your dog or cat that you just lost this past year. If it's a family member that passed or divorce, well, mom or dad used to do this. Can we do something like that? Well, yeah, we can still do that. Or grandma, they really loved this. Can we do this? Yeah, we can add that story or make those cookies, or that way the kids feel important. They feel heard. They feel appreciated. Their thoughts and feelings matter. Remember, Kimberly and I did 2 episodes on dealing with kids' emotions. And the holidays is one time where the struggling really shows up. And it can be really hard to deal with kids' emotions. And that's why I'm saying you gotta give them space. You need to talk to them with an open heart. Listen with your heart. You're not going in with, oh, I told you this, I told you that. Or here's the solution. Here's what we're going to... No. Kids are very smart and intelligent young beings. They want to make us happy. They want us to feel proud of them. And what better way to feel proud is they can feel being heard, listened to, and appreciated. Not judged for their thoughts and feelings. Well, grandma or grandpa used to make chocolate chip cookies together, or left stuff here up in northern states of the U.S. When we moved from California to Minnesota, I missed the sand. I missed the beaches. Well, how would you feel if we bought some sand and made a little sand box in the house for the Christmas time? Or instead of putting a Christmas tree skirt, buying a snow blanket or a white blanket that looks like snow and using that as a tree skirt. Another tree, if you move from the northern states in Minnesota where you had snow and cold weather, you're incorporating what they're missing. You're helping them move on. Or buy the snow in the can and covering up some of the windows with that fake snow, or putting some of that on the tree so it looks like snow. You're asking them suggestions on how to bring what they're missing with them. Nope, we don't do that anymore. We're in California. We don't need snow. We don't want this. We don't want nothing with... Yeah, that's you. Just as we as adults, sometimes when we are missing a loved one or hurt or missing something because of a big move or a change, it affects us too. So if it affects us, it's going to affect your kids, your children. And what do we as adults do? Well, we find a friend to talk to, or we call up a family member back home or across the street or town or wherever, and we talk to them about it. We reminisce. That's what kids and children need too. Your children need time to talk about it, get their thoughts and feelings out, reminisce. Because they're attached to that relative. They're attached to that pet, that experience that they had with them, or that memory. They want to keep that alive. There's nothing wrong with a child keeping a memory alive during the holidays. What a great way to remember somebody, except for do something during the holidays with them that they remember so fondly. If it's because of divorce in the family and they're missing one of the other parent, you can still incorporate what you did with the other parent. If you're remarried, yeah, you can incorporate that, but put a twist on it. How can you make it yours? Incorporate, but yet change it some way so it's different. Ask your child. Finally, ask your child, how can we incorporate that? How can we remember that? How can we do that? Yeah, you can make suggestions and just plain suggestions. How do you do that? Well, like I said, if you're from the northern states where you get snow, like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, during Christmas time, and your kids love that. Well, if you're in Texas, California, you really don't get a whole lot of snow during the holidays. It's usually a brown Christmas, as far as I'm imagining. So what can you do? Well, like I said, ask them, how would it feel if we bought a white tree skirt or a white snow blanket and put that on a tree for a tree skirt to make it look like snow? How would that make you feel? They might love the idea or hate it. Or can we buy the fake snow in a can and put some of that on the tree this year to make it look like snow on the trees, like we used to have back home in the woods? How would that make you feel? Would that help? You're making a suggestion. Because sometimes kids don't think of this stuff. That's where we as adults need to rely on our memories, our knowledge of what's out there to see if that would help. And your kids may, you know what? No, we just need to make paper chain garland. Well, that's easy enough to do. What colors do we need to do? We'll make that tonight after school. Or we'll do that this weekend. We'll put some up around the house. Well, duh. It needs to be red and green. I can easily see a kid saying that. But that's where you're listening to your kids. You're asking them what's bothering them. And if they're struggling to figure it out or nail the emotion, even Kimberly said before, get the emotion wheel out. Pull it out on your phone. Here's some words. What do you look like? Or find your emojis on your phone. Have them pick out an emoji or two and ask them what that feels like. What do you see when you see that in you? And talk to them. And listen to them. And then how can you incorporate that into now? The best way is incorporating it with what you're doing now. And you may only have to do it for a year or two, and then they're over it. It's not a big deal. Or if that person or loved one really had a huge impact in your child's life, yeah, you might have to do it for quite a few years. And it might be one thing they carry on into adult. But that's fine. Let your child do that. Let them have that experience. Is it really worth watching your child struggle and be unhappy during the holidays? Or incorporate that and watch their face light up as they remember that loved one or that pet and what it meant. And again, if it's something that they're fearful of or scared of, get them the help they need professionally and get law enforcement, because nobody wants to see your child scared during the holidays, feared. threatened. Because that's not what the holiday's about. The holiday's about fun, caring, giving, joy, smiles, laughter. I remember times where my kids struggled with something. I told them it was nothing. Yeah, we all are, but we're all getting over it, so you need to get... No, that was the wrong response, and I found out later that my kids voiced their opinion later, that they hurt when I said that. I didn't respect them. They lost their uncle into a car accident one year. It was in August, right before school starts. Yeah, and they were close with their uncle. They're older. My kids were older. They're in 4th, 5th grade, I believe. And they remembered stuff that he did with them during the holidays, winter time. Because remember, I live in Minnesota where there's snow, cold, trees. And they talk about their uncle, what he did. And yeah, I blew him off that year. Or the year after that. But yet they still struggle. They still hurt. They still saw the ornament or something that they made or gave them. It bothered them for a couple years afterwards. It got easier. But I learned after that first year's, okay, what do we need to do to help you guys? What do we need to remember your Uncle Jake? What would Jake like to do? How can we incorporate that? One year said, he really loved these type of cookies, so let's make these cookies. Okay, let's make these type of cookies. That's all it was making a batch of cookies. That's what happens when you stop, you listen to your kids with an open heart. Let them bring back the memories. Let them reminisce about what they remembered about that person. One year we lost a cat that they had for 5, 6, 7 years. I loved this cat. And this cat was an indoor cat, but still liked to go outside. They would sit there and reminisce about how they go out for school. And this cat wanted to be part of the family. Try to help provide for the family by bringing back birds or mice or gophers. That's what we talked about one year, about after this cat passed away. Because that's what they remembered about him. Okay, it's a little gory, but hey, that's what my kids needed that year, to remember that cat. Just as you and I hurt sometimes during the holidays when we lose somebody close, so do our kids. First, give them space, acknowledge what they're thinking and feeling, listen to them, help them just express what they're thinking and feeling and figure it out, and let them help come up with solutions and how to integrate it into Christmas this year. You may only have to have a 1-year talk about it if they're struggling, but maybe something that happens every year because of what this person meant to them. That's okay. Holidays are about being there, remembering, being grateful too, giving. And remember what that loved one gave to them means the world to kids. Means the world to what the Christmas season is about. What people mean to us and what they gave to us and how we can appreciate them. Again, I'm sorry that this episode was a little bit harder to swallow. Again, it's not topics that are normally talked about during the holiday season and nobody likes talking about. But it's one that needs to be addressed. It needs to be looked at. And it's very hard to address and face and talk about with your kids because it can be so touchy. But when we talk about it, help our kids when they're struggling during the holidays and talk to them, sit down and talk to them and listen. They get to work through their thoughts and feelings, emotions. They get to feel honored, special, respected, listened to, important. Get to learn how to work through emotions the way adults do. They feel proud. Like they can meet your needs as a parent and expectations. So, when your kids are struggling during the Christmas season, sit down and listen to them. And you will have a honeymoon mindset with kids.